What is up, everybody? Happy Monday afternoon. It's a little bit gloomy here in Dallas-Fort Worth, but you know what? We're making the best of it. And I am excited because I have Joe Petersen on Facebook Live with me. Joe, what is up?
Hey, good afternoon, Kyle. Man, it's a pleasure to be here.
So, guys, for those of you who don't know, Joe has been a huge mentor of mine for the last couple of years. Pretty much every great decision he's probably been a part of, and every bad decision I probably went against his best judgment and made my own decision. And so he's an incredible human to have in my corner. And Joe, you've actually, so will you explain to everybody a little bit about you and what you do through C12, just because not everybody knows you the way I know you yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you for that opportunity. Basically, I've got a 30-year career in real estate development with a sub-career in motorsports. Because of a cancer diagnosis, those things were taken away from me. But I'd been a C12 member for years prior to that diagnosis. And now I get the opportunity through C12 to work with business owners and CEOs that understand and have an appreciation for their faith in Christ. They understand that if Christ owns everything, we're held to a different standard. To glorify Him is our goal each day, to follow His methodology is our goal each day. And often the way Christ would want us to lead the businesses He owns is different than the way the marketplace would. So we bring together groups of 10 to 12 business owners or CEOs in an executive peer advisory board environment. We learn best business practices. We encourage each other. We hold each other accountable. We have our biggest questions answered, and sometimes our biggest answers questioned.
Yeah.
Come together to make each other stronger, to get back on the right track, and to truly be the very best followers we can be, the best husbands we can be, the best parents we can be, and the best leaders we can be of the businesses we're called to steward. Is that way too long an introduction?
No, it's great. And so I'm a part of it. My dad's a part of it. You can see my dad right there. Say what's up, RD.
What's up?
So because my internet went down, I sped over to my parents' house this morning so I could make my first Zoom training that I had to do. And so here I am. My mom fed me lunch, and now I just feel like a kid again, hanging out at mom and dad's house. So, Joe, you and I have kind of done similar things with Zoom without even really realizing it. You've put together a Zoom packet that you've helped other C12 leaders use in our groups, with groups across the country. I've done the same thing with the real estate space. And you text me the other day and we're like, dude, what are we doing? We've got to do a top 10 Zoom video. And so here we are. It's incredible. So
as I just explained, my business is about connecting people, and we do that together in person.
Right.
And as of 3 weeks ago, my entire business model had to change. And
Yep.
So much of it now is focused on the Zoom platform. So
Right.
We've got to get really good at this really fast.
Absolutely.
And to be able to share the top 10 tips for success felt like a great opportunity.
Absolutely. And so let's just jump right in. I'm going to share the screen so that we can do this thing. And so check this out. We already introed ourselves. Look at us. And doesn't this depict you and I perfectly?
Absolutely.
Like you in a suit and tie, me making a stupid face with a backwards hat on. That pretty much embodies our relationship, which I love. I love so much. And so, guys, I want to read you this quote first. This is a quote from Bob Goff, who's an incredible author. And he says, embrace uncertainty. Some of the most beautiful chapters in our lives won't have a title until much later. And Joe, have you ever experienced uncertainty like we're experiencing right now in the last few weeks?
Actually, I have, in different seasons and from different points of view. But it's, we always get these reminders from God that we are not in control. And sometimes the reminders are taps on the shoulder, and other times it's a baseball bat across the forehead, which is what I think we're all experiencing right now.
It absolutely is. And And so with this being said, guys, all we can do, all we can control is embracing the uncertainty and moving forward. And so we wanted to jump into our top 10 list, and we did this. Joe actually, he called me this morning and kind of made fun of me for my naivety, I guess, because you were like, dude, do you not know what a David Letterman top 10 list is? What's wrong with you? How young are you? And I felt bad because I should know, but that's what we want to do. I did it totally different, and Joe made me redo this whole thing. And so luckily I have time, and so I redid it. And so we're going backwards, right, from 10 to 1, hopefully working in a progression towards the most important tips. And so I'm going to start with number 10, which is invest in the pro package. Guys, the free version of Zoom is fine if you're just going to hang out as a caller on other people's Zoom meetings. If that's what you need Zoom for, if you're literally an employee and you just need to be able to jump on there, awesome. But if you want to leverage Zoom in its entirety as the leader, if you want to jump on calls with your leadership team, if you want to jump on calls like Joe and I are doing right now and push it out to Facebook Live, we've got to get the pro account. All right, we get longer calls. So you're limited to 40-minute calls on the free account. And so we can go longer, and you get bigger audiences. I believe the free account allows you 3 people per call, and the pro account allows you 100. And then for a certain amount of money, then you can up that to 300, 500, 1,000, and so on and so on. But invest in the pro package. Plain and simple, pretty easy. Joe, number 9.
Number 9, bandwidth is king. Now, this is a huge tip, but remember, we're starting with maybe the least important and working our way up to number 1. So stick with us. These are going to get better every single tip. Okay, so bandwidth is king. Sometimes we could be on Zoom and having a great meeting, and all of a sudden the audio starts skipping, our video starts skipping, things aren't going quite right. Well, it may be because we have an auto backup program on our computer that's kicking in, that's backing up our hard drive and eating up our bandwidth. I don't care what quality internet connection you have. If 3 of your children are streaming videos at the same time, your Zoom call is in jeopardy.
Yeah.
So carefully consider what's using bandwidth right now during this vital call, during this vital conference, and make certain you limit those things. Turn off the auto backup. Give the kids something else to do. Make certain the bandwidth is dedicated to you and your Zoom so that there are no interruptions. Your participants deserve a professional experience.
And Joe, I've even noticed, like, if I have iMessage open, if I have email open, if I have a bunch of Word documents open, all of that stuff, right? All plays effect. So when I'm doing a Zoom call, I have Zoom open, and then I have Keynote open because that's what I'm showing the slides in. Everything else is completely shut down.
Absolutely. And it is time for you to upgrade from your DSL account, but we'll talk about that later, Kyle.
Yeah. It took me a while to call in with my modem, but you know what? We made it. All right, guys, number 8. And this is huge. I could argue that this could be as important as what we're going to say number 1 is, but you've got to bring crazy energy. And then, guys, especially in this season of life that we're in, we've got to be encouraging to people. And so think about this, right? If Joe and I were hosting this as a class in person, it would be so easy. We're feeding off of your energy, right? We can high five you. He and I can high five each other. And so when we're in person with people, energy is typically never a problem, but we're not now, right? We're all remote. We're all coming in through video. And so 3 simple things we can do is, like, don't lean back in your chair, right? You'll notice Joe and I both are leaning in, right? We're anticipating the energy, but I watch people lead calls like this. And it's just, they lead it very casual, very chill. And it's just not very appealing to people because we're already slightly confused in giving our energy to different things because we're at home. So you've got to be full of energy. Talk louder than you would normally, right? Go above and beyond. If you feel slightly stupid, slightly awkward, good, you're doing a great job, because we've got to be over the top energetic, and then ask questions regularly. So if Joe and I were hosting this call with 50 other people, we would be asking them, hey, what do you struggle with from an energy perspective? Do you sit back in your chair? And we would encourage them to be a part of the conversation, to keep them paying attention and learning along this whole process. And so the energy is huge. And Joe, you talk about, before we go to 7, you talk about the encouraging piece, because you lead C12 groups for a living, right? They're exclusively done on Zoom. So why is it so important right now for you to be that encouragement for all of your C12 members?
Well, encouragement means a lot of different things. I'm going to build on what you just said, Kyle. You ask a lot of questions. I could make a great point and really try to bring it home, and I could stop and say, well, who has additional thought about that? And here's silence and crickets. Or I could say, Bobby Joe, you are fantastic at encouraging others. Build on what we just said. Well, he's going to lean in and he's going to start contributing like that.
Right.
So using their names and encouraging them to
the call out
with what you want to. You don't have to tell them in advance, I'm going to call on you. The fact that you say their name is going to get them back alive and going. So yeah, we have different rules when we operate a Zoom meeting as opposed to a meeting at a conference table.
And it also, if you call that person out, the rest of the table perks up going, oh, well, I don't, if he calls on me next, I got to make sure that I don't look dumb and I can't answer the question. And so now everybody's paying more attention because of that one simple call out.
Absolutely.
That's kind of the pastor. That's the pastor trick, right? Pastors used to do that, and everybody else would go, oh no, I don't want to be called out. So they kind of perk up and start paying attention.
That would be intimidating. Some of my meetings are literally 7 hours long, and they have to stay engaging or we'll lose our audience completely. And it's no longer a meeting, it's a beating. And that's a great tool to keep everybody engaged and for them to say afterwards, this is one of the most productive meetings we've ever had.
I love that. It went from a meeting to a beating. That's brilliant. Did you just make that up right now?
Hey, they just keep flowing, man.
Golly, that's incredible. I want to be you when I grow up one day. All right, Joe, number 7.
Record the calls. So much good information is exchanged. And when you have the Zoom Pro account, you also have the option to timestamp your recordings. So whether it's offering this to someone who wasn't able to participate or to emphasize some really strong points that were made as you share this with others, the timestamp of the recording gives you the ability to do that. The Zoom Pro account also allows you not to waste your disk space, but to record this on their cloud.
Yes.
So that's a big feature. Kyle, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'll throw the stat that's on the slide. I made this slide, so this isn't Joe's stat. So I made him do one that he didn't even want to do, but he so graciously did it. Guys, think about this. 95% is the amount of information we can recall when watching something versus 10% of what we read. So such a benefit to this is in real time, right? People can pay attention, but then you can provide them the recording so they can go back on their own terms and fast forward to certain parts, rewatch certain parts. And I think that's a big deal. Also, guys, think about if you were using a transcription service and you were having all of your meetings transcribed, you're going to have blog options come out of that. You're going to have content come out of that. You're going to have little like mini books that you could offer to your staff or to your leaders or to your people, right? And so there's so much value that comes in recording the call. So record the call, period. Number 6, guys, have the right tech. And I want Joe to also weigh in. Joe, I want you to weigh in on this as well, because you and I have different tech. There's a million different techs we can use. But guys, keep it simple, first of all, right? If you're just a part of a Zoom call, just go in from your phone, right? That's your best source of camera. You can use headphones very simply. But if you're hosting a call, you've got to be on a computer. You do not get all the features if you're using your mobile device. And so, Joe, like, what microphone are you using right now?
I bought it. I don't know what brand it is, but
Is that a Blue Yeti?
no, it's something different than that. But it was only like 40 or 50 bucks on Amazon,
Okay.
and it's professional quality, studio quality. It's got a USB connection, and I'm not shouting across a desk to an internal mic where it sounds like I'm talking in a can.
Yeah.
Instead, it's, it has more modulation and voice control. Now, I use my iMac, and I found that the camera on my iMac is plenty good quality if I have good lighting and a few other things.
Yeah.
But if you're going to host these meetings, you've got to take the tech part very seriously. Nothing's expensive, but it does have to be right.
And I would add, I'm using a computer as well, but I've got a webcam, right? It's a $50 Logitech webcam. And so it does HD, right? The only problem with our cameras on our computers is that they're not as high of quality as we could get a webcam for. So I'm a big fan of the HD, also because I might want to take this call and I might want to put it on YouTube, right? And so I want to make sure I'm sustaining the greatest quality possible. But again, guys, this is minimum viable, right? Don't feel like you can't do this until you have all of this stuff. Work with what you have, because there's never been a greater time in our world than right now to be leveraging this technology to be in front of people. All right. Number 5, Joe.
Change your settings. Randy, Kyle, why don't you go ahead and cover turn on streaming? I'll grab the other two.
So what we want to do, guys, is, so for whatever reason, Zoom leaves what I think are really important settings turned off. And so if you don't know better, you're going to miss out on stuff. So the first one is go into your settings from your computer, scroll all the way down to almost the bottom, and turn on streaming. Streaming is super important, right? This gives you the ability to stream to Facebook or to YouTube. Like right now, we're in a Zoom room streaming live to Facebook. So you have this option. If you have the pro account, this is free for you, but it's going to be turned off at first. So make sure you go turn streaming on.
Excellent. The second one there on the screen is allow for gallery view. This is really easy. I've not found any instance where a view other than gallery makes sense, unless maybe it's just a two-way conversation, me and a single other person. But we could call this the Brady Bunch view, or we could call it the Hollywood Squares view. But also lead everyone in your call as you're starting the call. We'll talk about this in a few minutes more on another tip, but lead them through how to change their view to gallery view.
It's good.
Again, any other view is a distraction. The last one, start with cameras off. I have uploaded a profile picture. So when my video is off, you see a picture that I want you to see rather than just some big white text. Kyle, why did you put this up here?
So I put this up there because, Joe, I have literally had a naked person on one of my Zoom calls.
And that was a bad thing?
And it was very bad for them, I think. To this day, they don't even know that it happened.
Oh no!
Unless someone else spilled the beans to them. But I never said a word. And so it's really uncomfortable, obviously, in that moment, but just in general, right? We need to be thoughtful of people's privacy. And so a lot of people just don't realize that the moment they hit Zoom, their camera pops on, and they just may not be ready for that. So start with it off and then encourage people to turn them on, because you will get more engagement from people when they know they're being seen, as opposed to just hiding behind their camera being off.
Very good point. And I've not had that same experience. My customer line may be a little bit different than yours, but what an interesting story, Kyle Draper.
If you could have, so if I can derail myself for a moment. So that call was recorded, and 2 other people on the call, like I talked to about it, that recognized it. And we went back and we watched my facial expression the moment it happened. And we could not stop rolling because my eyeballs got about this big and I was petrified. I mean, I was sweaty. I mean, it was just a terrible scene. So start with cameras off, or if you like that kind of stuff, if you want to hope that happens, turn them on, right? Like you do you.
Very bad.
You guys just know that the setting is there to maintain the privacy of the people you care about.
Excellent.
All right, guys. Number 4 is know Zoom and conduct an orientation. The orientation piece, Joe, I want you to speak to, because that was kind of your addition to this number. But guys, the know Zoom part, don't use the technology half-butted, right? I'm not a cusser, right? So I think a lot of times we half-butt stuff. We just jump in, and some of the most basic things that would make this really good, we just don't know, right? So go through the settings, upload a profile picture like Joe talked about. You know, if you're working through a document like this right now, if you guys want the slides that Joe and I are going through, put your email in the comments of this video, and I will send you all of these slides. So send the documents that you say you're going to send. And then I would also add, don't require a password. Zoom allows you to turn a password on, but I just don't see the purpose in it, because someone has to have the link to get into the room anyway. And so I just don't feel the need for a secondary line of protection. So turn the password setting off. And then Joe, talk us through the conduct and orientation piece.
Okay, this I think is really critical. As we're starting the call, I mean, the truth is there are very few of our clients or the people on our team or our customers that are as experienced with Zoom as maybe we are. There are very few people that before all this occurred spent a whole lot of time on Zoom and they were wonderful at it. So if you can kind of lead them through just a very, 3 minutes to 6 minutes to maybe 8 minutes of basic how to use Zoom, you'll show them how to click on the arrow next to video and how to change to a virtual background, how to upload a profile picture, how to open the chat window and use chat so that they can share messages back and forth privately with another attendee or with everybody. Right. Show them how to, there's a button you can click that improves your appearance. A lot of people love that button. They weren't aware that it was there. Number one, it shows them that you know Zoom, but you're giving them such a great service by making them better Zoom operators, because this may be a tool now that they need to use to better connect with their teams during our stay-at-home regulations, or to connect with their customers in a creative way. The better you know Zoom, the better you can serve them, the better you help them learn Zoom without trying to be a Zoom teacher.
Right.
The better you can help them learn Zoom, the more appreciative they will be of your professionalism.
Absolutely. And they will be more engaged because their level of knowing is higher.
Absolutely. If they understand chat window, if they're looking at gallery view, they're not going to get bored and start thinking, how do I get off this call?
Right. 100%. That's awesome. And so, Joe, talk us through number 3.
Okay. In every professional meeting, we typically start with setting the expectations for the meeting and sometimes setting the rules. Zoom would be no different. We'd say, okay, we are all here. We're investing this amount of time to be together, to exchange information, to fully invest in each other. So let's all agree to set our phones to the side, not be distracted. We expect this call to last about this period of time. Just a lot of general ground rules that help us understand expectations and the level of professionalism and engagement that we all expect and deserve. I don't think it's too dictatorial, but I do think it really helps everybody to be on the exact same page with what to expect. Kyle, can you build on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it exactly right. We get what we give out of this. And so if we don't say it, they won't adhere to it, and it will lead to a poor experience for them. And a part of that is really number 2, which is
go backwards. Go back. One more point. Even if the meeting's only 2 hours long, I'm going to set a break, and I'm going to tell them at the start of the meeting, listen, when we hit this hour mark, we're going to take 8 minutes to freshen our coffees, run the restroom, consider our thoughts before we wrap this up strong. So even those kind of rules will really help people to kind of know what to expect in their time that they're investing with you. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you for adding that. And guys, kind of a part of number 3 is number 2. Mute all callers and encourage them to use the chat. So for example, for Joe and I right now, this obviously doesn't matter because this is just he and I streaming live. But tomorrow morning, I'll lead a couple different classes with over 30 people on each call. And so I will walk them through at the beginning of my presentation. I will say, hey guys, a couple ground rules. I'm going to mute everyone. This is going to cut down on the background noise. This is going to allow you to clearly listen and hear me. This is going to allow for a great recording for those of you that want to watch it later and for those that couldn't attend. And then so when you have a question, put it in the chat box first. Instead of just blurting it out and losing our momentum, put it in the chat box and then my moderator, so I always have someone on the call that's watching the chat box for me, then they will go, hey, Kyle, we had a question about blah, blah, blah. And then I can choose to address it or go, oh, that's a great question. We'll talk about that 4 slides from now. And so, guys, this can be so chaotic because there's so many voices. And now we're all at home. So there's kids in the background. There's dogs barking. There's phones ringing. There's spouses disciplining, right? There's just stuff happening. So we want to make sure we keep order. And this is the easiest way to do that. Joe, anything in addition for that?
Absolutely. And don't go forward to number 1 until you get my drum roll. But let me give you the counterpoint to muting our callers. I put down here to mute or not to mute. That is the question. I feel like if I'm going to have a meeting with 6 other people or less, I'm going to tell them at the start of the meeting, I'm going to unmute everybody.
Okay.
Because we're all here to participate. And we're all here to be actively involved in the conversation. And if everybody knows they're unmuted, I'm going to get their undivided attention typically. Once you go over 6, I do exactly as Kyle just explained.
Great. I like that.
I'm going to mute everybody because we need to be able to hear each other correctly and clearly and all that. But on a smaller meeting, I'm going to intentionally tell them I'm keeping everybody unmuted because we're all in this together. We all need to participate.
I love that. I was on a call last week with 100 people. And the woman that was leading the call, at one point she goes, okay, guys, I'm gonna unmute everybody if y'all have questions. And the minute she said it, I was like, no, don't do that. And she unmuted everyone. And it was just the most chaotic sound you've ever heard in your life. And she instantly muted everyone back and then did it a different way. But I love that. I think that 6 number is a great number to serve as kind of that from 6 to less, we can manage that. But yeah, you start getting higher, then you need to control the mute a little bit more efficiently. All right, so number 1.
You've invested what, like 30 minutes so far in getting to the top tip,
That's
number
right.
1 tip. And now here it comes.
Number 1 tip, Joe, it's yours.
Is it? Oh, prep your environment and look at the camera. People are looking at what is in around you. If there is a window behind you, all they see is a black outline of you.
You see this?
There we go. Yeah, you've been dealing with it very well. But a lot of people, they may have that window 2 feet behind them.
That's right.
They don't understand. No one sees their face. What you're seeing in the screen is what they see. And for a 2-minute call, maybe you get away with that. But anything over it, no. We care about how we look, especially as the meeting organizers. So I use professional lighting to try to make certain that whether it's overcast outside or in the middle of the night, that people can see me. If you have a laptop you're doing this from and you put it in your lap, that means I'm seeing your nasal hair and I'm seeing your ceiling fan. And yeah,
that's not what you want.
That's equally distraction.
All that goodness right there.
Everything behind you in the room, I see. And so it's really important. So here's the last tip, which is look at the camera. I was on a Zoom call with a guy the other day and he said, man, I just can't keep people engaged. And the whole time he was looking here because he's looking over at his computer screen and his camera's over here. And he's saying, I just don't know why people don't engage with me more on the computer because normally I'm really engaging in person, but I just can't seem to get them to respond to me. Well, he never looked at me. So When you get your Zoom window open, and if let's say you're using an iMac or another computer where the camera is near the top of the screen, move your window as close to the camera as possible. Kyle was just showing you a picture I sent him.
I'll show it. I'll show it again.
There we go. I don't know how well you can see it. I cut a hole in a Post-it note, and that hole represents my camera lens, so I can quickly find it, and I know exactly where to look. The temptation is to look down at my screen.
Right.
How often do you drive from Fort Worth to Dallas just looking at your dashboard? How many accidents would you have? How many gorgeous views that God created for you would you miss? No, you look up and you look at the windshield, not at the dashboard. I'm just asking you to do the same thing.
Right.
Yes, you can glance down occasionally to look at the people to reconnect with them, but your real connection is with that camera lens. Get this part right. If you want to be successful at Zoom, get your environment right, get your lighting right, and always look to your participants. And they are a camera lens, not an image on the screen.
Yes, Joe, that's so good. Your Post-it note is so brilliant. And so, guys, I would encourage you to do that, because I'm not great at this. Like, I get sidetracked a lot. And so I'm trying to really force myself to be better about staring into that little dot. But guys, the last part of this is also have your screen ready. Like, whatever you're going to share, have those ready. If you're going to walk them through a website, have the website already pulled up. If you've got slides for them, have them queued and ready to go. Because where a meeting can get really sloppy is when you start trying to share stuff and then you can't find it, or you forgot to grab it. And then now you look like you're completely ill-equipped and unprepared to lead this call. And so we want that to be quick, right? We want to be able to jump in and out of that very quickly. And so, guys, if you need additional help, please reach out to Joe or I. You can download. I created a PDF document that you can go to bit.ly/myzoomtips, and it will take you directly to a download for that document. And if Joe and I can serve you guys in any capacity, here are our email addresses. Here are our cell phone numbers. Please feel free to reach out to us with any questions that you have. We are here to serve you guys. And Joe, any closing words?
Absolutely.
Kyle, for our people?
We're here to serve you. You are also here to serve us. So you may have invested, I don't know how many minutes in this call, and you're sitting there thinking, man, they didn't even pick up on the biggest tip. Well, put that in the comments. If there's a tip we missed, if there's a rule we missed, if there's something you've learned that's made your calls much more productive on Zoom, share it with us. We'll get it out there. And consider sharing this video on your Facebook feed or your Instagram feed. We'd love for other people to see this. Thanks so much for listening to us and watching us today.
Yeah, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Get out there, go set up some Zoom meetings, and we'll see if this gets a great response. We might bring this show on the road and just do it over and over and over again. So, Joe, I love you, man. Thanks for hanging out with me.
You're the best, Kyle. Sure appreciate you.
We'll talk to you guys soon. See ya.